Hey guys, welcome to the new TV show. Today we're going to be reviewing the second episode of Gotham. So an overall quickie review of the second episode, which is titled Selina Kyle. I think that it did a great job of expanding on some characters that weren't really featured in the pilot episode, like titled character Selina Kyle, who plays a very young Catwoman. She's still about a teenager. And in this episode, we learned a lot about her. We learned that she is living on the streets, that she thinks that her mom is still alive, while records showed that she is deceased. There are actually some new villains, and that someone that I'm not familiar with, the Dollmaker, is a higher-up villain that we don't see in this episode, but they're mentioned a lot. So in this episode, a character named Patty, who's played by Lily Taylor, who is from The Conjuring and from The Haunting, she plays one of the henchmen-type characters for the Dollmaker, and I think she did a great job overall. I think that she did a very, very believable, sort of innocent-looking woman who's really just kind of sick and twisted. We also got a better storyline. Even though we know a lot about Alfred and young Bruce Wayne, we get to see their characters develop a little bit more. Bruce did his strength tests. He tried burning his hand over a candle and to see how strong he was, and that sort of shows a young Bruce Wayne trying to live up the legacy of how strong he can be, and eventually he becomes Batman, which I'm not sure if we'll actually see any of that development in this series, assuming it goes on for a long time. We also see Alfred struggling to raise Bruce on his own, and apparently Alfred had received some special instruction on how to raise Bruce from his father before he did pass. Luckily in this episode, we did get to see Gordon and Bullock develop a little bit more. I was kind of indifferent about Bullock last week, but his character has really developed and really grown on me a bit. He's sort of found his place. He's not really the comic relief anymore. There are a lot of other smaller characters that do that in the episode. I'm not familiar with these comic book characters. I'm more familiar with who's featured in the past films. And Bullock wasn't someone that was featured on film anywhere. Fish Mooney is played by Jada Pinkett Smith in the series, and it is a new character, and we've gotten to see her develop a little bit. But some of the cons that I have about this episode are some of Jada's acting choices. All of a sudden, this episode, Jada Pinkett Smith has developed this sort of more regal-sounding accent for Fish Mooney, which was not there last week. I mean, it's something very minuscule that I just happened to pick up. But if they do decide to keep it, I hope they just keep it consistent and not something that's sort of like fades in and out during dialogue or during different episodes. While one of my favorite characters is Oswald the Cobblepot, who later becomes Penguin, he's one of my favorite characters from the movies. I remember Danny DeVito's very strange, more deformed direction of that character. But in this particular episode, there was a smaller storyline involving Cobblepot, and I thought it was a bit strange because it didn't really connect back to the main storyline. It was sort of veering to Bruce, to Selina and Gordon, and then back to Cobblepot, back and forth constantly. And while the storyline didn't really develop into anything, we didn't really learn much more about him. I have a feeling it's going to develop into something more, a much bigger story arc in future episodes. I just think that for this particular episode, it wasn't that relevant to the rest of the story. So, for this particular episode, this is all I have to say. Please tune back in next week for the third episode of the new TV show for Gotham. We'll also be shooting some new StageTalk episodes this week, and we'll be featuring another top 5 next week of our favorite Broadway musicals. Please follow us on Twitter at @It'sStageTalk and submit any questions or topics you have using the hashtag #It'sStageTalk, and we'll see you guys next week.